Welcome to A to Z Tales. Today's story teaches us a powerful life lesson. Never judge anyone by appearances. Sometimes people who seem ordinary or simple are far wiser and wealthier than we think. This is a story about respect, humility, and smart thinking. It will help you learn everyday English words about money, banks, and behavior, while discovering a story you'll never forget. If this is your first time on our channel, please subscribe, like, and share this story for more English stories. It was a warm Tuesday morning. The bank was busy. People were standing in line, holding papers, and checking their phones. The sound of the counting machine and clicking keyboards filled the air. At the end of the line, there was an old lady. Her white hair was neatly tied, and she carried a small black handbag. She looked gentle, polite, and patient. When her turn came, she walked slowly to the counter. The cashier, a young man in his 30s, looked up with a tired face. "Good morning," said the old lady kindly. "Good morning," replied the cashier quickly. "What can I do for you?" She smiled and handed him a small check. "I would like to withdraw $2, please." The cashier stared at the check. He couldn't believe his eyes. $2? He said with a surprised voice. "Yes," she nodded calmly. "Just $2. He sighed loudly and looked behind her. There were still 10 people waiting in line. "Ma'am," he said impatiently, "for such a small amount, you should use the ATM outside. It's faster. This line is for larger transactions. Please don't waste time. Other customers are waiting." The old lady looked at him quietly. Her eyes were kind, but her voice was calm and firm. "Oh, I see," she said. "You think $2 is too small?" "Yes, ma'am," he said quickly, trying to sound polite but failing. "Then I don't want to withdraw $2 anymore," she said softly. The cashier felt relieved. Good, he thought. She will leave and the next customer can come. But then the old lady continued. "Instead," she said, "I would like to withdraw all the money in my account." The cashier blinked. "Excuse me?" "Yes," she repeated. "All the money in my account, please." The cashier smiled awkwardly. He thought maybe she didn't understand. He opened her account on his computer, and then his smile disappeared. His eyes went wide, his hands froze. $7,324,000, he whispered under his breath. The old lady was watching him quietly. He cleared his throat and said, "Ma'am, I'm afraid we cannot give you that amount in cash right now." She nodded. "I understand. Then how much can I withdraw today?" The cashier checked again. "The maximum we can give immediately is $100,000. The old lady smiled gently. "All right," she said. "Please give me $100,000. The cashier's face turned pale. Now he was nervous. He stood up straighter, spoke softly, and treated her with sudden respect. "Yes, ma'am, of course. Please wait a moment." He called his manager to approve the transaction. Soon, a security guard brought a large envelope filled with money. The cashier counted it carefully, $100,000 in crisp new bills. He placed it gently in front of her. "Here you go, ma'am," he said, smiling nervously. The old lady opened her bag, took out $2 from the bundle, and placed it on the counter. Then she said with a calm voice, "Now I would like to deposit the remaining $99,998 back into my account." The cashier's mouth fell open. The people behind her began to whisper. He didn't know what to say. The old lady looked at him kindly and said, "You see, young man, I only needed $2, but since you said I shouldn't withdraw such a small amount, I thought I should follow your advice properly and make a bigger transaction." The bank was silent for a moment. The cashier felt his face turn red. He understood what had just happened. He had judged her too quickly, thinking she was a poor old woman wasting time. But in truth, she was a multimillionaire and a wise one. "Ma'am," he said softly, "I'm very sorry for how I spoke earlier." The old lady smiled. "It's all right, young man. Just remember, respect costs nothing, but it means everything." She took her $2, placed them in her purse, and walked slowly out of the bank. The people in line stepped aside for her, and the cashier watched her leave, a small, gentle woman who had just given him one of the biggest lessons of his life. Never judge people by their looks or their requests. Everyone deserves respect. Respect is not about money or power. It is about treating others kindly, no matter how small or big their needs are. The old lady didn't raise her voice or get angry. She taught with wisdom and grace. Now let's read another story about respect, everyone. Never judge too soon. This is another story that teaches a timeless lesson. Never judge someone by their appearance. Like the story of the old lady in the bank, this one takes place in a restaurant, where a poor-looking man teaches a proud waiter a priceless lesson about respect. It was a busy Saturday evening at a fancy city restaurant. Every table was full. The sound of music and laughter filled the air. A man in old clothes walked in slowly. His jacket was faded and his shoes looked worn. He carried a small bag and smiled politely at the waiter standing near the door. "Good evening," he said softly. "Do you have a seat for one person?" The waiter looked him up and down. He frowned slightly and replied, "Sir, this is an expensive restaurant. Maybe you'd be more comfortable at the cafe next door." The man's smile didn't fade. "That's okay," he said gently. "I'd still like to eat here. Could I please see a menu?" With a sigh, the waiter led him to a corner table, away from the main crowd. Other waiters giggled quietly. "Looks like we're not getting a big tip tonight," one whispered. The man looked at the menu and said, "I'll have a bowl of soup and your special steak, please." The waiter wrote it down, muttering under his breath, "He won't pay anyway." After a few minutes, the food arrived. The man ate slowly, carefully, enjoying each bite. He looked calm and peaceful while the waiter kept watching from the counter, arms crossed. When he finished, he called the waiter. "Could I have the bill, please?" The waiter quickly brought it, about $48 here. He placed it on the table and said with a smirk, "Here you go, sir. That'll be $48.50. The man nodded, reached into his small bag, and handed the waiter his card. It was a black platinum credit card, one used by very wealthy people. The waiter blinked, his smile froze. He quietly took the card, ran it through the machine, and brought back the receipt. "Would you like to sign, sir?" he asked in a suddenly polite tone. The man signed, smiled, and stood up. As he turned to leave, he said kindly, "Thank you. That was a wonderful meal." When the waiter checked the receipt, his eyes widened. The man had left a $500 tip. The waiter rushed outside, embarrassed. "Sir, wait, I'm sorry for how I treated you earlier. I thought," and the man interrupted gently, "You thought I was poor?" The waiter nodded, red-faced. The man smiled kindly. "Don't worry, you were half right. I was poor many years ago. That's why I know how it feels when people look down on you," he continued. "I come here often, dressed like this, just to see who still knows how to treat people with respect." The waiter bowed his head. "I'm truly sorry, sir." The man placed his hand on the waiter's shoulder and said softly, "Remember this, you never lose anything by being kind, but you might lose a lot by being rude." And with that, he walked away, leaving behind not just a big tip, but a bigger lesson. Respect everyone, no matter how they look. The value of a person is never shown by their clothes, but by their character. Like the old lady in the bank, this man didn't shout or argue. He taught through quiet wisdom, and his actions spoke louder than words. If you liked this story, subscribe to our channel AZ Tales, where every story helps you learn English through life lessons.